So Shiva's a bit tired. We went yesterday late. So this is the Monday monologue. Hello. Trying to get going now. I wanted to react to a video I saw of this girl boy. She's wearing a baseball cap. I mean, I'm a person who's always been a tomboy. And then she had this video on the Palestinian children, how many children were killed, and how we have to give back, Israel has to give back the land, and then the hostages would be freed, was at the end. That was nice of her. And then I thought, she's like in America or Canada, according to the accent. I couldn't decipher. And I looked through her profile, and she had a video where she's singing a song to kids because she's going to have an operation. And you would think, what operation? I was curious. Then I realized she's going to have like one of those bottom or top surgeries, changing her gender, supposedly, cutting off her body parts. And then she had a song for kids who will have to go to the hospital for this kind of operation. And I'm thinking, how not to be scared. You know, there's so many people in this world that are ill and need life-saving surgery. And then she's really compassionate, and then she's going to have a perfectly healthy body part removed so she can identify as another gender. And then she talks about the Middle East as if she's an expert with so much confidence. And you know what? I don't even know everything. But one thing I do know is that you don't support terrorists, and you don't tell people to do a ceasefire when every single day, I mean, every single morning I open the phone there or at night, and there's always rockets somewhere. Now it's in the south, in the north at the same time, and these are terrorists. And as for the children being killed, why don't you point the finger to the right address, which is Hamas terror organization? But the thing is, she doesn't really inform herself. The woman doesn't even know if she's a man or a woman, as if it's such a complicated question. And I really don't understand why LGBT includes the T. I think there's a big difference between people who have a different sexual orientation. Like I have neighbors, they're two men that are married to each other. You know, there's also lesbians living here not too far that I know with a dog. You know, it's their right to love whoever they want. But I don't understand people that insist they're a different gender. I know it's complicated, but then, okay, let's say you have an issue and then actually recommend a surgery to children. And then you talk about loving children. If you love children, why would you want to do such a thing to them? I've seen so many videos on this one channel by a person who actually is very real. The name is Buck, and he does this. He looks like a man, so he's kind of identifying he's a woman, biological woman, but he likes to appear as a man. Okay, but he's very, very honest about the fact that you can't change your gender. And I think there's a lot of dishonesty because you really can't change your gender. Like my dog can't be a cat. And so I think it's very, very odd that this woman loves children so much, yet she encourages children to be confused about their gender and to undergo operations which would make them unable to have children. If she loves children so much, why would she encourage that? I understand if you have a problem, if you're confused, but why would you encourage other people to go through the same process when it's such a painful process, and which it means you are for the rest of your life, you have to be under the care of doctors because you always have a problem. You know, urinary system cannot just be changed from one to another, from male to female or female to male. It requires constant medical supervision. And why would anybody want to do that? Why would I want to be changed by doctors, chopping off my body parts? Why? How can that be humane or promoting love for children? Why would you want children to do that? Why would you want yourself to do that? I understand maybe you feel better as another gender, then by all means, you know, wear a baseball cap, appear as a male. But why would you undergo surgery? life-risking surgery in order to change your body. I don't think a trans person is the same as a gay person. I think it's quite the opposite. They have a hard time accepting the fact that they are women who love women or men who like men, and so they have to do this surgery in order to feel they're heterosexual, which they are not, obviously. And the weirdest thing is like somebody like this famous sport athlete, I forgot his name, changed into a woman and now has a relationship with a woman. So obviously he's attracted to women. He was a heterosexual man. He has children. And then he underwent some surgery to appear like a woman, and he's with a woman. It's very confusing. And I think, yes, it has something to do with the Middle East. A lot of people are confused. And I saw another video of this really nice gay guy called Idan, and he's trying to talk to people, not to change their minds, just to be open about what's going on in the Middle East. And people have so many prejudices and so many misinformation, so much misinformation. And it's so sad because it's very peaceful here where I live, but I live in a small country. Israel is a small country. And if we're bombarded by rockets from the south and the north at the same time, how are we the bad guys? And the fact that what happened in October 7th has not been acknowledged and honored, and the children murdered there in a sort of massacre celebration, and in a celebration of murder and death and beheading and rape. None of these peace-loving, humane, so-called humane people acknowledge the fact that there's been a massacre. It's already been denied. I mean, if you think about the Holocaust happening 80 years ago, it's already been denied by some people. This just happened now. It's a few months ago. What is it, 8 months ago? And already people are denying it. Never happened. And we still have hostages. And at the last, like they'll say, oh, and the hostages returned after the whole list. So we have to cease fire. You mean allowing rockets to fall here? Allowing terrorists to come here? Because that's what it means, ceasefire. If the IDF doesn't go into, even when the IDF is in Gaza, we still have rockets falling. So you can imagine that this mechanism of terrorism is so complex and so hidden in these terror tunnels that it's impossible for one of the strongest army in the world to stop it. And you say ceasefire, so what? They can throw rockets in the central Israel, so we can every citizen of this country will be completely unsafe at the same time. We have no right to protect ourselves. How is that humane? That Israelis have no right to protect themselves. And Israel is made up of Muslims and Jews. So how are we apartheid? How are we genocide when we're the smallest minority in the Middle East? We're 0.001% of the world population. We're 0.000 I don't know how many zeros of the Middle East. 99.9% of the Middle East is under genocidal threat. They're even a majority in Europe soon. So how are they under threat? So they project all their hateful deeds onto Israel. They spread lies, and then all these gullible people keep passing it on. And this woman who doesn't know she's a man, 1 second in any of these Islamist communities, she would be either murdered, killed, and definitely abused. And why doesn't she talk to Arab trans or Arab gay people, and they'll tell her what it's like, and now they have to flee to Israel and get help here because their communities abuse them, but really horrible abuse, I've heard, and they kill them in horrific ways. So how can a person LGBT support anyone who is so abusive towards LGBT is beyond my understanding. I don't even understand. And I used to be very open-minded, but now I realize how these people subject themselves to constant medical attention. It's sort of like there's a psychological disturbance where somebody goes to the hospital constantly, wants attention, or they subject their children to that. What is it, Munchausen syndrome? Let's call the things real. Like, it used to be clear that a person that was confused about gender would be mentally suffering from mental disturbance, imbalance. Now it's acceptable. I don't think it's the same as being gay. I really don't. I think there's a big difference. I think sexual tendencies are very different than being confused about whether you're a man or woman. I mean, the dog is not confused whether she's a dog or a cat. And my cat was raised with dogs, and still he knows he's a cat. He knows he's a male, even though he was in a female household. To be confused about your gender, to not know whether you're male or female, and to actually think that if you chop off your breasts and if you change your urinary tract system, you're going to be a man. It's sad. It's sad that doctors are doing that, and it's sad you're promoting it, and it's sad that you're also promoting false narratives about the Middle East without having any clue about the history of Jewish people in the Middle East, the number of people that are in the Middle East, how many people are Jewish, how many people are Muslim, the history of this dispute, and how people behaved on October 7th and how they vowed to do it again and again. And we say never again is now, and we do not accept that. And I think it's about time that people who spread hate and terrorist support should be banned from social media, should be banned from calling it a protest. The problem is you give it the wrong name. Just like a transgender is the wrong name. It's not, you cannot transition, you cannot change your gender. It's impossible to change your gender. Think about an animal. Would you be able to turn a female dog to a male dog? Why would you think you could do that to a human? Why does a human being have to be a lifelong patient, lifelong medical supervision, taking hormones that definitely shorten their lifespan? Why would you encourage children to do that? Why would you say, oh, this is to support the children that are in the same situation? Why would you encourage children to be mentally ill? Why would you encourage children to take hormones and cut off their body parts and not be able to have children? I never wanted to have children when I was a small kid. It took a long time till I thought about having children. And so I think it's really sad when people at a very young age, even in their 20s, make this irreversible decision. I think it's time that people have a conversation, open conversation about whether society should accept it and whether criticizing it is transphobic, just like criticizing terrorist support is considered Islamophobic. Maybe it should be considered whether terrorphobic is kind of unacceptable, whether certain things are right and certain things are wrong. And terror can never be right. Attacking a country is never right. Terrorists in Lebanon and Houthis in Yemen and wherever they are, we even had rockets from Iraq. It's never right to attack the only democracy and free society. And it's the only place in the Middle East where there's a pride parade. We had one in Jerusalem. I don't like the way they're done. I do believe it's good that people are allowed to live a free life, whatever they are, but I have a problem with the trans people promoting their agenda, promoting children to do that, and not realizing how they force society to take care of them. The last thing I want, I'm not a young person, the last thing I want is to fall burden to society and to have to be medicated and to have medical care. So I'm trying to be healthy and live a healthy lifestyle, and cutting off body parts and changing your urinary system does the opposite. It makes you dependent on doctors. Somebody has to take care of you, whether it's your parents or your friends or your partners. And it's pretty selfish and narcissistic in my opinion. This is just my opinion. And as for the Middle East, it's really sad that people that have no clue, and they hear things in the news and they judge Israel, and the opposite is the truth. They make the terrorists into these heroes, and they make Israel into this villain without realizing the facts and without simple, clear facts about what's happening. Just open your news and see how every single day there's rockets towards Israel. Every single day. every single day, and so many people, hundreds of thousands evacuated. And if you love Arab people so much, they're the number one to be targeted because they live in rural places. Like Shiva comes from a Bedouin village that's been targeted by Iranian rockets even. The only place where Iranian rockets hit, actually, because we were fortunate enough to have a security system, Iron Dome, that prevented these rockets with so many kilograms of explosive attacking us. I don't wish anyone the horror I felt and still feel today. Every time there's like a siren, it's an ambulance siren, I am just so very quickly still are post-traumatic from what happened, not just October 7th, but my whole life here. And yet I'm also very post-traumatic from anti-Semitism in Europe or wherever I went to hear anything against my country, automatically said, told, in so much hatred of people that are completely ignorant about who are the people of Israel and what is Israel about. So just so you know, we deserve empathy too. I think everybody deserves empathy except people whose agenda is to kill other people. And as for the children, well, you really should know what Hamas is all about, then you would understand what child sacrifice is and how they handle the people there and how they build terror tunnels instead of bomb shelters, and they don't really they're actually happy when children are killed and do everything to promote that and nothing to protect their children, nothing. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to protect your own children and then you're supposed to protect the children of the terrorists as well? I think nobody in this world can do that. You can only protect yourself. You can only take care of yourself and your people in your community. You're not obligated to take care of people who are out there to attack you and declare their intention of murdering you and keep your people hostages. Also Arabs, by the way. So if you're fond of the Arab culture, which is fine, why don't you care about Arabs that are being held hostage? Why don't you care about Arabs that are being targeted as we speak in the north and in the south of Israel? These are all questions I'm not going to get an answer to because these people aren't interested in discussions. They're not interested in learning. They're interested in talking and getting a lot of likes, and they get a lot of likes from ignorant people like themselves. And they don't want to evolve. And they think that if they make a physical change, they're going to make a psychological change. They're going to cut off their breasts. They're going to be a man. And really, I feel that it's about time women stand up for women's rights and stop allowing a castrated man with artificial breasts to be called a woman. A woman is much more than that, and we don't need to be degraded, and our physical shape being what a woman is, the outer shape, whether it's having breasts, that doesn't make a woman. Makeup doesn't make a woman. Hair doesn't make a woman. High heels definitely don't make a woman. And you know, there's not one single man that so-called transitioned into being a woman that goes without makeup. So if you really are a woman, why do you need makeup? I don't wear makeup. I don't wear makeup and I'm a woman. I know a lot of women that don't wear makeup and are women. I know a lot of women with short hair and they don't have high heels. So you are saying that being a woman is like being a doll. You have to dress a certain way, you have to put makeup to appear a certain way, or you're not a woman. And we have to stop allowing these trans people to define what a woman is, and we have to keep the budgets to women that are under the threat of domestic violence. Every day we have women being murdered by their partners, by their husbands, by the father of their children, for reasons I do not understand or comprehend or want to get into in this video. And the problem is the trans women get big budgets because all of a sudden trans is like, you know, they're like the terrorists. They're very, very, it's very important to support them. And if you doubt whether it's a legitimate cause, you're transphobic. But I do doubt it. Why are not girls and women being abused as we speak being under the threat of violence, mostly by men, why are they not getting and receiving the budgets to allow them to be in a safe place, to allow professional people to work with them and help them through this horrific trauma of being in a domestic violent situation or abuse? Why do we have so many budgets, even in my city in Tel Aviv, for trans people? They're giving stage. What about talking about women's rights, little girls' rights, to not be abused, to not be to not be oppressed by religion, to not be oppressed by society, to not be oppressed by toxic men? What about women's rights? What about our right to be women without pronoun bullshit? I mean, this whole pronoun. What pronoun are you? Language creates a reality. But no matter how many times you call yourself they, them, he, whatever, you're still going to be a woman, even if you cut off your body parts. And that's something everybody should know. And the same with men. And this whole budgets, I mean, so much money, so much time for people that spend time studying medicine. They studied medicine, and what do? Instead of saving lives, they're destroying lives. They're not enabling these people to ever have children if they, in 10 years' time or whenever, change their mind. They're doing irreversible surgery on them. And it's really so unnecessary, because if you really feel you're in the wrong body, why do you need to change your body then? Why do you need to change your body? Why is appearance so important to you and not deeper things? What about values? And the same thing with the Middle East. What about values? What values do the people that you support have? Ask yourself that. If you are supporting Hamas, terror, Palestinian, whatever, ask yourself, what values do they hold? A list of 10 values. What values? Do they respect the 10 commandments about, well, thou should not kill, thou should not rape, you shouldn't take other people's women, you shouldn't steal? Do they respect that and massacre October 7th? Did they respect that when they invaded communities, murdered, stole, kidnapped? That's stealing. When you kidnap a person from their family, that's stealing. So are those the values you uphold so much? What gives you the right to come from a completely different place on earth and judge us when we're under rocket attack, our country, our tiny country? That's what I want to know.